Hey, my friends, this is me, Coach Stacey B, here with another episode of the Childcare Teacher Chronicles, where we talk about all things childcare as it relates to the teachers. I am here with Miss Tiffany Vigne from Shadow Gardens Academy, and we about to talk about some real shit over today. Our topic for today is teacher burnout and retention. But before we get into the topic, I want you to introduce yourself. Let them know a little bit about you and why you are an expert to speak on today's episode.
Okay. Hi, you guys. I am Tiffany Vigne. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I have been in the game teaching for about 14 years now, on and off.
Long time.
Yeah, I've been in the game a long time. A long time. And I love what I do.
Okay, and so in teaching in the last 14 years, let us know some of those roles you have played in your organizations.
Well, I will say this first, that I fought throughout these 14 years. I fought. I was not consistent with teaching. I left a few times, more than 3 times to be actual. My last break was about 3 years ago. And I was out 2 years before I came back.
You found your way back,
I found your way.
See, when you got a call and you got a call.
I know. I always find my way back, though. Man, it's been a tough road.
Okay.
It's been a tough road, fighting, trying to figure out my place, trying to figure out if this is what I want to do, and trying to just fighting with my heart, but I always did find my way back. So.
Okay, well, that's very important for you to kind of let us know that bit of information because as we talk about retention and burnout, that sounds like that was something you struggled with in these last 14 years. You know, your different employers being able to retain you in the childcare field, right?
Yes.
Or you may even be experiencing or feeling burnout, which took you away from the childcare field. So my first question I kind of want to talk about with you, how prevalent is burnout in the early education field?
It's prevalent, and it happens more often, and I think a lot of us think that it doesn't.
Right.
It affects most of us on the regular, and the burnout is real. Let's be honest, it's real. We go through some hardships with teaching. You're fighting your own personal emotions, plus you're fighting with everything that you have coming towards you being an educator.
Right.
You're dealing with so many different personalities in a classroom.
Right.
You're also dealing with sometimes the parents. Sometimes what they go through, if they come and talk to you and they feel comfortable, it does affect us. Right. It affects us. The children's lifestyle, because I'm a firm believer. We don't know what happens when those babies leave, when they leave us.
Yes.
We don't know. And I'm a firm believer that, hey, look, when these kids ask for food, give it to them. But it's a burnout. We work hard. We work hard between the documentation, the paperwork, and the amount of students that we have in a classroom, because we can't always keep teachers. It's been rough.
It's been rough. So that's why this topic is important as we discuss it through the Childcare Teacher Chronicles podcast, because it's not just us. So you are also a representation of a local childcare center, multi-center. You have a multi-center owner here in New Orleans, Louisiana. But what I know of you and what I know of your owner, you all move around in different groups that's outside of Louisiana, right? Yes. And this is a conversation that can transcend through state to state, right? And so one of the things when we talk about teacher burnout, I think just being real, a lot of parents don't understand what all the teachers deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? They feel as if like the teachers are there to absorb it all and do it all. And I honestly think, which is kind of fucked up though, I think parents hold teachers to a higher standard than they hold themselves, right? They expect teachers to be able to produce and do and fix and secure and produce and do. Yes. But when they get at home, a lot of times, they're
not even implementing what they want us to do.
They check out at home, right? So again, I want you to elaborate on some of those things that the teachers face that causes or that fosters that burnout. And let's talk specifically now more. We have what a lot of us refer to as the what babies now.
The pandemic babies.
The pandemic
babies.
We ain't practice this.
Knew this. The babies that never been outside. The babies that never went to the grocery store because of the pandemic, because they weren't inside. Yes.
And so because of that, there's a plethora of skills that the children were lacking, right? Yeah. That teachers are now needing to build and foster into the children, you know. Right. And you can, you know, being in childcare and being in the teacher field, you can kind of go over a few of those fundamental skills that the children are missing, but this causes the teachers to have to do extra work trying to get them up to par, right?
let's talk about speech. Let's talk about fine motor. I had a student today that I was having issues with, and I knew something was going on.
Yeah.
But these are pain. I have a 1-year-old class. I have a 1-year-old. Some of my kids are almost 2 or 2. They're aging. They're getting ready to move out in August. But these babies, they struggle so much. They struggle. I've never seen a generation of children that are struggling. And like you say, the parents want us to fix everything, but we can't fix everything, especially if we're not on one accord.
Right.
With you, potty training, teaching them their numbers and their alphabets. I had a parent text me the other day and say that they were pulling their child out because they felt like their child wasn't learning anything, because they sit down with their child and they're teaching them whatever they're teaching. Now, they're not telling me what they're giving their child to see what they know. And they were like, oh, they don't know this. So I'm pulling them out. I'm pulling them at another daycare center. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. But this is a parent, let's be honest, that really is not helping.
Don't show up. Right.
Always have a problem with something.
Right.
Or calling the state on us about small stuff.
Right.
But we have a lot of this generation is real bad.
To add to some of those topics that you talked about, what I see that is a huge struggle in the children nowadays is that social and emotional piece. That lack of communication, that lack of properly expressing their feelings. One of the things that we do teach in our child care centers is about emotions and their feelings. And that's a way to foster emotional intelligence in children, right? But as we have these conversations with the parents and adults, we realize half of their ass don't have emotional intelligence, right? So we're working even harder. Again, your story you just shared just kind of speaks to the fact that child care teachers are expected to be superheroes and fix and equip and do. And a lot of times, y'all need to break y'all damn selves, right?
But then let's talk about how they think we just a babysitting service.
Right.
So how can y'all expect us and hold us at a highest expectation, but yet y'all children are at the center 10 hours a day. Right. Y'all drop them off. I'm an opener and I'm a closer. Right. And sometimes these parents are waiting outside. When I pull up at 6:20, 6:25, they're outside waiting. And these are the same children that are there till close.
Right. And what I find is when we have children like that, the great thing about it is that gives us the opportunity to be able to observe and document them, right? Foster their developmental growth or pick out any developmental delayments, right? And I bring this up because it's another attribution to this burnout, right? And the reason why we struggle with retaining teachers. A lot of times we have children in our centers that missed the mark on a lot of the checkpoints, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe you could speak to it. I can speak myself personally about the number of physical therapists that come in and occupational therapists and children on IEPs and different 504 plans, all because the children are lacking some type of necessity growth developmental skill, right? And what happens is when we have children like this, say it is a class of 10, and maybe 2 of them have these exceptionalities, right? That puts more work on that teacher. That puts more strain on that teacher. And then, you have a teacher who just be like, fuck it. I can't do it no more, right?
It's hard. It's hard. And it's not that we want to say fuck it. Right. But it can be hard. I have a classroom right now that probably has about 3. That are having some
3 out of what? Put this in perspective.
3 out of, right now I have, on my roll, I have 15. Okay. Not all are steady coming in every day of the week.
But on average, you have how many in there?
I have maybe 3. So it's 2 and a possible.
Okay.
I had 2 of them that came in. They got some resources today. I was so happy that they were able to get their help. But one in particular, she's on the spectrum. I know we're not supposed to diagnose or whatever they're supposed to say. But being in the game 12, 14 years, I can identify those issues. And I know that something is going on. Right. Something is going on. And this is why we are having these issues that we have. I mean, this girl comes in and she cries from the moment as soon as her parents leave her. She cuts up. She cuts up. I tried talking to mom. Mom was like, oh, well, nothing's wrong with her. Nothing's wrong with her. I took her to the doctor. The doctor says she's just bad. And I'm just looking at her. I'm like, okay.
Well, I must commend that parent, because one of the things we find a lot of times that we are the first line of defense to finding out that something is not quite right with the child, right? And some parents are completely oblivious of it. Some parents, it's their only child. Some parents, they just haven't noticed it. And so it causes this to be a challenge when we have to bring this to the parent and it's something they don't want to hear, right?
I reversed that conversation though, with her. Okay. Because she was a parent. I had spoke to her previous teachers, the student in my class who had her previously before me, and they had those same concerns about her. So when I approached the mom, I approached her a little bit differently than the way that they were told to approach her. She warms up a little bit better than me. Right. And I did bring some issues to her attention, but I also brought it up and switched it and was like, well, you know, how do you feel about her getting speech? Right. And I said, do you agree? She was like, yes. And to me, in my head, being an educator, that was my way of getting that door open for specialists to come in and further, observe her to see exactly what I know is something's there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that further. So we did that today. Okay. And when I tell you that was a plus, I was so excited. Right. And I was so happy that she was receptive of that. That made my day today.
So that speaks to what this 14 years in education have done to you, right? That has allowed you to be able to have fluent conversations on important topics where parents could hear you, right? Yeah. That causes you to have a sense of sensitivity when having these discussions, right? And being in tune with how the parent may react. You need to know this parent. You need to know that child. You need to game plan, right? Yeah. So that helps you to not have to deal with the stressors of this child with this, whatever the ailment or delayment that you all are finding. Yeah. So I do commend you for being able to have that conversation. Thank you. But speaking more about burnout and retention, I want to talk about how teachers are able to regulate with their own personal emotions. Like I tell people all the time, when my teachers come into the center, matter of fact, you just said it when we were just pregame talking, right? You said that teachers are expected to check their feelings and emotions at the door. Elaborate more to the audience what you mean by that, and then let's just give them the real talk.
We teachers, educators are expected to leave their personal life at the door. When they step in the door, we are told that it does affect us, which I do believe that it does. It really does. But sometimes that can be very, very hard because you don't know what people going through. Right. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what happened that morning. You don't know any of that. Right. And it can be hard. So I believe in it, but it's not like it's so hard. Right. We're human. Right. We're not robots. We're not people that are emotionless. We are people. We are human beings. So it's going to happen naturally. And if you have a class that is having some difficulties or I'm going to just say, you got a badass child or two. Because we have them that's jumping off the walls, that are standing, climbing on shelves.
Look, and when you call mama to come pick them up, do mama come?
No, hell no, she don't come.
Mama don't even want home, badass child at home.
She'll be like, I'm gonna come get them, or I'm gonna call daddy, see if daddy could come. And then they call back at lunchtime. Right. And the child is calm now because I'll be calm if I'm sitting here eating. Right. Munching on some chicken wings and some macaroni and cheese. And then you're like, oh, well, how they doing? And I'm like, they're quiet now. They're fine now. And guess what? When it's time for them to transition from eating lunch to going to nap, there goes again.
They back at it. And what the parent don't understand in that moment, they may feel like, oh, good, he or she settled down, they're calm now. But they don't realize what that teacher just went through for these last few hours while dealing with this children displaying that type of behavior. Then when that teacher go to lunch and say, fuck it, I ain't coming back, right? And we got to scratch to find another teacher. Crazy. They want to know why y'all keep having high turnover. Why y'all can't retain
because
teachers.
Of your children. Because of your children. Because of your children. You expect they have so much high demand for educators, but they're not doing what they expect us to do. They're not doing the same thing at home. So that's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
Let's talk about that then. How important is it for parents and teachers to be on one accord? How important is it for centers to have these open houses, to have these, we hear about parent-teacher conference, and more so when you get into, secondary school and things like that. But even in the early education sector, specifically because of how many delays and just different problems we are finding in children, how important is it for teachers and parents to have open communication, be on one accord, have quarterly meetings, monthly meetings. You know, I know that you all are Type 3 centers in the state of Louisiana. A Type 3 center means that you are heavily regulated by the Department of Education, which means you have certain criteria you have to meet.
Follow.
One being documenting and observing these children for their growth and development, right? So how often do you think parents and teachers should sit and review this information and make sure that you all are on one accord with formulating the best plan for these children?
I say quarterly. Every 3 months or so.
And that provides what?
It provides a lot of detailed information that the parents may be missing. Because I will say this, we are with their children more than they are with their children.
But it also may provide something we missing too as teachers, something that can help us, you know, regulate the day a little better with their child.
Because sometimes the parents know what can help us at home. It can possibly help us at school and help us regulate them at school. It could be anything. It could be from a special blanket to I don't know, a special treat. Maybe they like a certain kind of food or fruit or something like that. You'll be surprised
what you find out when you
what you can find. But it is very important to build those relationships with those parents. At least try to. Even if I know we get some difficult parents, we get some parents that I fight hard to talk with, or to just I'm gonna make sure I meet them at the door today, because they coming in, they on their phone, they not making eye contact, they barely signing the they come in and I feel like they on their phones because they don't want to talk, they don't want to be social, but I'm here for you and your child. I'm not just here for your child. I'm here for you.
What you're saying is actually a great point. I actually years ago started the policy in my center. Parents can't come in my center on the cell phone. You can't come in my center with your pajamas on.
That need to be implemented.
You can't come in my center with your booty shorts on, and you cannot come in my center with your cell phone on your cell phone. Why? Because your child is excited to see you at the end of the day, right? If you're gonna be too busy when y'all get home. Don't be too busy
when you leave here. When you leave here.
Don't be too busy when your child is running up to you, ready to greet you and tell you about the day. Don't be too busy when you can have that small 2 or 3 minute conversation with that child's teacher or that administrator. So I do think in those aspects, sometimes centers have to take matters into their own hands and set some parameters. People are going to do what you allow them to do, right? And speaking of that, though, how about some effective strategies when it comes to retaining teachers, right? You say you've been in the game 14 years. You've been in, you've been out. You've been in, you've been back out.
I've been dipping and dabbing. I've been dipping and dabbing.
But you found your way back home, right?
I always did.
So maybe talk to us a little bit about what could have helped to retain you in these situations where you dabbled in and out.
Respect. Respect from the admin team, respect from my owner. I feel like if you're an owner, you're part of management, or however your role is, you're part of hiring. When you hire a teacher, you hire them with the thought that they know what they're doing, right? Because you're putting me in this classroom, you giving me the responsibility of someone else's children, right? Okay, so you're supposed to be able to trust what I'm doing, right? I've had directors, I've had owners just stand over me all day. All day. And when I tell you that was one of the hardest things in a row, I'm like, it's demeaning. Right. Let's be honest, it's fucking demeaning. Right. And it can be, it could be downright. Just it
adds to the level of stress. It does. And insecurity. It makes you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You're not competent enough.
Because I'm always being watched.
It puts you on guard. Right.
I'm always being watched. So that was really one of the reasons why I didn't have a place. Right. Okay. I didn't feel like I was needed or I was trusted or respected. Right. So that was one of the reasons why I kept moving, because I felt like that wasn't my place. So I kept trying to move and leave off and find my place. Okay. And I think I found my place though.
You think you found your? We gonna see if you dabble back out.
I found my
Hopefully
place.
You don't dabble back out, because we need some strong individuals who has some tenure under them. You know, as you may know, just in this crazy world, there is a huge turnover in staffing, right? Specifically in childcare, right? And that causes us to have, to be honest, it causes some fucked up situations in childcare centers.
It does.
Children need consistency, just like they need consistent parents, just like they need consistent teachers, they need consistent routines. And so when we have these situations where the turnover is so high, right, that causes the whole chain to be able to be weak, right? So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, what do you think professional development look like as we work towards fostering, cutting down burnout, and lowering the teacher retention?
Support. I feel like the more skills that we have, the more confident we are.
Right.
So then the retention level does go down, right, because we're confident in what we're doing, and we know when we step in this classroom, we're able to handle whatever is coming out of the way that day.
Right.
Because even though we have what we going on outside of the school, coming in with a confidence,
right,
coming in with the skills, coming in with what we need to function can help the retention a lot.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, I think what all you said was very great, you know, but let me just play devil's advocate and be honest. Okay. What about those who just don't give a damn? Like,
let me tell you, when you talking about the ones that's just there for a check,
just there.
The ones that's just there for a check.
There. How we go ahead and cipher their ass out the rotation?
We let them cipher themselves out. Because if you're not coming in, if you calling off, if you complaining, you gotta go. Because like you say, we need consistency.
Right.
When them children don't have consistency in the classroom, and you got different teachers every day, or you got multiple teachers moving out the classroom each day because they have floaters and there's not a consistent teacher in the classroom, them children gonna cut up.
They cut up, right?
They cut up. They're gonna be bouncing off the walls. So that's. Hey,
and then when you do get a new teacher and you're trying to integrate them in this classroom, and then they can't handle all the behaviors, and this one off the wall and that one, the fuck you, and the kick you, and the pull your hair, and biting the other children, and then the teacher do what? They quit.
Leave. They go on a break and they don't come back.
They leave. They go on their break
and they don't come back. That's how they do it. They go on their lunch and they don't come back.
So I do think that you are correct that there needs to be professional developments that helps foster some of these ideas and things, you know. And I'll tell you, like I tell a lot of my teachers and my leaders in my centers, bring a solution, not a problem, right? Yeah. So if you see something that you see would be beneficial to integrate in you all systems, speak to your director about it, speak to your owner about it. Right. I'm sure you have a lead role in your center, you know. And I always tell my teacher, those who do well, be a leader, you know, be an example, you know. If you see somebody not doing right, tell their ass something. Right. You know, if you see somebody who fucking up, say something. Because if you don't, then they feel like it's okay to keep doing it, right? But I wanted to ask you because I want to get up and I want to start wrapping up this segment, but one of the things I wanted to ask you was, as it relates to teacher burnout and retention, one of the questions I like to ask is, if my director only knew, right? I know we covered a lot of things thus far, right? And I thank you for this. This has been very impactful. You've given me all you have. But if you could answer this question as it relates to teacher burnout and retention, if my director only knew, what do you think would be one of those statements your director have no idea that's going on with you or going on with the teacher field?
Well, me personally, and I've recently expressed this to her at one of our conferences, and she didn't know, but I was getting ready to leave again. I had just made a year, and something was off, and I'm not gonna even lie to you, the pay. The pay was a lot off. The pay was a lot off. I was struggling a whole lot. And I was like, I have a daughter, and my daughter just made 18. And at the time she was still in school. Right. And I'm a single mom. Right. And the money was a lot short compared to what I was making before. And I told her, I said, I was getting ready to leave. And I think she kind of felt it, but something kept me there. Right. Something said, don't leave, wait a little while. Because the places that you may go that are giving you that money, you may not even enjoy what you're doing.
We talked about that in
You may not even be able to express the autistic side of being an educator. Right. Because all you're worrying about is the money. Right. Who's to say that if you don't leave here, that you won't make that bracket that you was looking for?
It's so much more to consider.
It's so much more.
But when your pocket's hurting, that's all you can see. That's
true.
Tunnel vision.
That's true.
But in hindsight, like you say, there is so much more to consider. And so, did you have the conversation with her?
I did. We talked about it. And what I didn't know was she had her own plan for me.
So tell me about the power of what? Communication. The power of communication.
She's seen something in me that nobody else saw. And when I tell you, this was the first person that I've worked for that actually saw me for who I was. Sorry.
No, you okay. You are A-okay.
Everybody's on a journey. Mm-hmm. Sometimes their journey may take longer than others.
Right.
You know, sometimes their journey take longer than a lot of other people. Some people get it quicker. Mm-hmm. You know, some people it take years. Mm-hmm. And that lady saw a lot in me. Mm-hmm. She promoted me twice. Mm-hmm. After my first year. And a blessing. I'm in a spot where I know now that I deserve it, and that the long road, the struggle with trying to find my place or to to find my place in education, because I was still questioning it. Right. I was still questioning it when I was getting ready to leave, and it wasn't just solely about the money. Yes, I needed the money.
Right.
But I still was like, what am I doing? Like, you're in your 30s. Like, what's going on? Like, what, you know, like you need to find your home, because if you're going to I went to school for this.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. In early childhood, right now, it's you have to go to school.
Yeah.
After so long, you have to go get your credentials, or you have to go get your degree.
Yeah.
You have to, just to stay in the field.
You have to show why this raise, why this increase, why these incentives are working.
Right.
Yes.
But this lady saw so much in me, and I didn't know, and I'm like, I'm glad I stayed, because what would have happened if I would have left?
So what I'm gathering out this is all it takes is having that communication.
Having communication and having patience.
And having patience.
You have to have patience. And that's even in your classroom. That's with your students. That's with your parents. You have to have it, because if you want to run efficiently, if you want to be able to get those high class scores, you have to.
Right.
You have to, and you have to be confident in what you do.
Right.
You have to be confident in what you do, and understand that people are not here to criticize you or to look down on you or beat you down on your back about it. Clearly, if they're on top of you, they see something in you. They see something in you.
Absolutely. So I want to wrap this up and thank you for coming, Tiffany. You were the perfect person to have this discussion about teacher retention and burnout. Like you said, you've been in, you've been out, you've been in.
It's been hard, baby. It's been hard.
And you made it back. We want to thank you for your dedication to the early child care field. We know that this is not an easy field to work in, but that is why I am here with this podcast to help shed a light so the masses can see what our teachers going through, right? Yes. So again, I want to thank you for being here. This wraps up our episode of Teacher Burnout and Retention for the Childcare Teacher Chronicles, where we talk about all things childcare as it relates to the teacher's point of view. I'm going to tell you to go like, comment, and subscribe below, and I will see you next time.